and yeah, they should have come up with some badass story like that.
Oh,
Dude, we got way sidetracked.
Oh yeah, I know, but the moon's so fun. We're gonna have to do we've been saying we're gonna do a conspiracy podcast. We're going to now. We just fuel the fire. All right.
Yeah, but speaking of conspiracy theories, man, I'm trying not to go down the road of like the really bizarre ones, like the cash cab thing. You know, that's a weird theory, but this stuff that you can verify that actually was taking place that's weird stuff, man. For it all to be taken, very strange.
Now, here's a question for you: is there a difference between the protesters and the looters and thugs?
I think it's really starting to be a blurred line. Okay, I think there are a lot of people going to demonstrations that are peaceful people. That have nothing but the intention of going down there, marching next to that person and next to that person, and making a statement. I think there are those people, but
I think there's even a small percentage of them.
Yeah, I think even the people organizing the quote unquote peaceful demonstrations, I think they have started to become very problematic. Because here's the problem I have too, and I was thinking about this today, and this is not. Before I say this is not to take away from what happened to Mr. Floyd at all. I really don't care what the circumstances were leading up to that video, but that man did not deserve to die that day. I don't care what he did.
Right.
So, but there's a lot of people, and I just saw a deal on TV about it. Now we got people, there's white people. This lady made her daughter hold a sign that said hashtag Black Lives Matter. And then above that hashtag, it said privileged. And it had a arrow pointing up at this little girl that was 8 years old and white. Now, what the hell are we doing now? That's what? And here's the deal with Black Lives Matter. I want everybody to think back. I'm not saying that I knew when this thing started blowing up, you knew Black Lives Matter was there was no doubt about it. Right. But for some reason, people seem to be forgetting Black Lives Matter, like at their inception and how violent they were. Mm-hmm. I mean, Black Lives Matter was responsible for the murder of 5 police officers in Dallas.
Yeah. And
now they're going into the leaders of these cities and demanding ridiculous things so they can promise that they'll make the riots stop. They're obviously not 110% peace loving. They're saying they have control of the streets.
I can't disagree with you on that. I find nothing that I can argue.
It goes to a wolf in sheep's clothing, you know?
The Secretary of Defense and the Joint Chief refused to testify regarding the military's role in responding to the protests. This is why I brought up that question. Mm-hmm. I would too. Why do I got to answer questions on why we responded to the protest? Wasn't it painfully obvious?
Yeah. Well, you look at how they're just running over, they've just they completely take control of the street. And then you have a president that's going, hey, I'll send the National Guard in there and take the streets back. I'll help your people. We'll help you. And they're saying, no, they're not welcome here. Oh, I got one for you. You know what Minnesota announced today? They're going to start defunding police departments. They're doing away with police departments
in the whole state.
Yeah, the entire state. They're going to disband and defund their police department. Huh?
Wow. The Vikings have
not at all.
Do you think Prince would be proud of this? He's from there.
He's from Minnesota, isn't he?
He's from Minneapolis. He sure is.
But my question is, so what's the plan? We're not going to have cops.
What's the plan? Police yourselves?
I don't know. This just doesn't even look good on paper.
Now, Oklahoma, or at least this part of Oklahoma, and I would like to think many, many, many communities in Texas would, if the governor said we're getting rid of all the police departments, I think the citizens would take up and say, okay, I'll stand a 12-hour shift next Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And we'll take care of our own shit. And we would take care of our stuff, too.
But what do you do if the state's all full of liberal people?
That's
Minnesota.
No. Because if everybody's got a gun here, it's kind of like nuclear weapons. If everybody's got a nuclear weapon, well, you might as well not have one. You know, if you're playing a game where there's 6 people in it and it's 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1, well, it might as well be 0. Nobody's winning.
1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to.
Yeah, I mean, see what I mean?
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, like, I just wish I knew. I don't think they've really thought this through. Like,
oh yeah,
maybe they should go back and pull security footage off the city's cameras and just look at the shit that's happened there in the past 10 days.
I know, and the only thing that's going to change it is like if some super rich person with stroke, you know, if somebody came in and like stole, you know, their garden hose or whatever, you know, so where's the police? Well, this is unnecessary. My garden hose was an important garden. $300 for that, and it's a UV protected Sandalite model Craftsman 1540 damn hose. Bought it special because the Mexicans that work for me and do the yard requested it.
It's got a flex rating of 7.
Yeah. So at some point, somebody with stroke's going to need a cop, and there ain't going to be one there.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how far have they thought this plan out? Like, what do you mean you're going to defund and disband the police department?
I'll tell you what Trump will do. If you do that, we'll just you're trust me, Minnesota, you're fixing to go from damn bad to fucking worse. Because if you disband all police, Trump's going to send in the National Guard, take care of it, and it's going to be way more restrictive and way safer.
Let's not forget who comes from Minnesota. Omar. She's got to love seeing all this break free. She's used to this, man. She's from Somalia.
Yeah, but when the National Guard get there and
I bet she was in Black Hawk Down.
Typically, oh snap. Oh God, you made me lose my thought there. That was shit on you, man.
Typically,
I have no idea where I was going.
The floor is yours. I'm going to hit this pin. So
You blasted me out the sky, man. God, Black Hawk downed me. And I can't remember what I was talking about, and that sucks. But we'll probably come back around to it. Shiner's slightly busy over here looking at a little glass cartridge full of love. He loves the love. Well, here's another one. Trump had said in
oh, this, yeah.
You know, Don, I love you. We go back a ways. But Mr. Trump, President Trump, sir, with all due respect, you might have wanted to just leave today.
Yeah.
That's kind of like one of those Facebook too soon moments. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. You know,
and the funny thing was Biden tried to capitalize on it, and he kind of fucked that up.
Yeah, but again, and I know Trump, I know he meant well. I truly believe he meant well.
Oh, yeah, I fully believe that too.
But, you know, when Biden comes out and he's like, his last war, we've got a president trying to put words in it.
Yeah.
And way to go there, Biden. Well, at least you remembered it.
Yeah, right?
Because it could have been me up there. And
you know, I just wanted to point something out because we have, just so we're clear, the people that wrote in to correct what Titty had said on last night's episode, they are most likely Democrat persuasion. But I want to point out something. People are all about, we need, like, Trump, he's a racist, and blah, blah, blah. He's the reason all this happened. And that. Now, Joe Biden, number one, Joe Biden apparently decides who's black and who's not.
Who can swim around his hairy legs and who can't?
Yeah, who's allowed to feel his hairy legs and they swim up to him like cockroaches? like that's what he really said.
Oh my God, I know.
But I want you to understand, there's a whole lot of black males in the prison system because of the crime bill that Joe Biden wrote back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
That's why people were sitting in prison for, 50, 60 years for some weed. Like, Joe Biden was the one. So I'm sorry if you're of the left and you're trying to tell me that Joe Biden's not a racist. I bet he carries that card in the front of his wallet.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
Oh my god! Is it delirium from this? Just talking about this shit for 3 days.
But dude, like I'm not kidding you. Like I did pretty good last night. It's like I said, I have a hard time not watching it, but it's so heartbreaking to watch.
I know.
Like, I get up this morning and those Buffalo officers, that one that cross checks the old man with the hickory nightstick, and the 75-year-old dude hits the pavement, busts his head open. I understand that those officers. I mean, those were the ones we were talking about. They all left. Did we bring that up yet?
No, it's a great lead in.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so those officers, are 75 of them on that team, which that is, you'll see it referred to as a CERT team. That's their SWAT team. They all left. They all left the team.
57 of them quit.
Still police officers, but they don't have.
Resign.
And like when you're having kind of this kind of stuff go down in the middle of your city, those SWAT guys are real handy guys to have. But not that I think, and again, I don't think what that officer did was right. And they're talking about filing charges on him. Well, they should, because if they were standing on the street and saw me do that to that old man, they'd file charges on me.
Oh, you'd be put to the ground and cuffs.
Yeah. So yeah, I think if they can prove it and file charges on him.
Now
everybody needs to be held accountable.
Here's something you and I talked about a little earlier when I was driving home from work, and I had said something. I didn't know really how you took that. And you didn't really have a lot to say about it even then, but I'm surprised I actually remembered it. Go me. When it comes to punishment for police officers, if there's a standard in training of the minimum standard of training that's the federal has when it comes to police, or that national. You know what I'm trying to say? Like the national, every police department in the United States has to have these minimum.
Well, that's what CLEAT does in Oklahoma,
right?
So yeah, probably all states, I will know, have their version of CLEAT.
But am I too brazen to say that if you're in a position of authority, because as a police officer you are in a position of authority, and you misuse that position for whatever reason. Sex, drugs, taking your cruiser to the local racetrack fast, putting a knee in somebody's neck, money. I think whatever max sentence for that crime should be, a police officer should have to have done.
I mean, it's definitely a job that you're held to a higher standard. Like just like you said, like doctors are held to a higher standard. There's certain professions that we hold to higher standards.
Oh yeah,
and so it kind of go. I mean. Like that could be the enhancer, like, okay, you got convicted of felony A, and the max on that's 10 years, but we're going to enhance your sentence because you were a cop. So now let's get. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
Let's get into discussion about that, because if you've got going into the job, if you know that sentences are going to be doubled as a consequence. Obviously, the pay for the job is going to have to go way up because, well, you're taking on a certain amount of responsibility now to uphold the community laws and not violate them yourself. In other words, I'm not saying every cop is dirty, because that's not the case, but there's a few of them out there that go around neighborhoods and they'll rough people up. They just are.
They run rackets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, that's exactly what they're doing. They're running rackets, and it's existed. Remember the movie Serpico?
Yeah.
I mean, it's it was rampant in NYPD back then. When
yeah,
it was. But that's the other thing that we've quickly got to this area that people talk about cops, which like 7 years ago or whatever, when you and I started running around, I would have never spoke like I'm getting ready to. People are starting to act like, oh, well, cops, fuck the cops, or all cops are this, all cops are... No, all cops are not that. No. All cops are not dirty cops. There is by far way more good cops out there than there are dirty ones. The problem is the bad always stick out more. And you're going to hear, anytime they catch a cop being dirty, oh, it's going to be all over the news. You don't hear about every cop that's a good cop when you turn the